Hello, everyone. I just came across a clip from Nick Fuentes talking about the Epstein files. If you're an American, this is a video that you need to watch.
They say Epstein was preying on girls who were 15, 16 years old, and other people are saying that that's not technically a child. It's maybe unethical, but it's not the same category, which maybe there's some truth to that. But this is sort of the line. They say if Democrats really cared, they would have gotten to the bottom of it. They say if Republicans cared, they would have gotten to the bottom of it. They're doing it now for political reasons. That's the Republican line. Here's the problem. And anybody that tells you that, tell them this. If this is a distraction, then why doesn't Trump release the files then? If Trump is innocent, maybe he's named in the files, but it's not criminal. Maybe he's named in the files, but it's not damning. If all it is a big circus and it's just meant to distract from Trump's important work, then why would he not release the files himself? He runs the DOJ. He runs the FBI. If he picked up the phone and called Pam Bondi, she would do it. If he called Kash Patel, he would do it. The files are under his jurisdiction. He has the power to release them. So this doesn't really work. You can't say it's a giant distraction and the only reason they want to release the files is to hurt me. There's nothing really there. In other words, I'm not guilty. I'm not a criminal. This is just being drummed up basically as a political attack. You can't say that, but at the same time say, I'm going to lie about the existence of the files. I'm going to bury the files. I'm going to actively work to cover them up and obstinately refuse to release them. You can't have both at the same time. If you're guilty, you're covering them up and we need a valid reason why they're being buried. If you're not guilty and it's just political, then you need to disclose the files and release them, and then there is no political attack. But you can't have it both ways. That much is obvious, and that's the problem. And this gets to the fundamental issue. Whether there is impropriety or only the appearance of impropriety, it makes no difference.
I mean, you have to admit, that is the central contradiction, isn't it? It's a political catch-22 that nobody in the mainstream MAGA world seems to want to address. If the Epstein files are just a big fat nothing burger designed to distract from Trump's work, as his defenders claim, then the solution is simple. Release the nothing burger. Show us the files. Let the American people see for themselves that it's all a political hit job. But that's not what's happening. Instead, we're getting what appears to be obstruction and cover-ups. So you have to ask, why? You can't have it both ways. You can't simultaneously claim there's nothing to hide while you're actively hiding everything. It defies logic. And it makes your base, the very people who put their trust in you, start to wonder what you're so afraid of. I do personally believe that Trump was involved in some naughty activities, honestly.
Trump campaigned last year on disclosure, on transparency. His words, not ours. He made the promise. We didn't. He, and by the way, his entire group, Don Jr. and Fox News and all these conservative activists for like 5 years, all they did was talk about Epstein Island and the Epstein list and the Black Book and Bill Clinton. They did that for 5 years. Ever since Epstein died in 2019, this has been the line. Right up through the last election. And Trump promised to that end, I will be different. I will clarify everything. We will have a transparent government. You will know where the government stands, whether we're owned and blackmailed, whether there is this intelligence penetration of our system, and whether they're extorting people or not. And that's really kind of important about the legitimacy of our government. He promised that. And then what we have seen basically ever since is obstruction, lies, and cover-ups. Think about the timeline. He says he'll release the files. He gets in, and there's this big show of releasing the files. He appoints Anna Paulina Luna from the House to oversee the process, and it's fake. Then they do this big binder release photo op at the White House with DC Drano and the idiot Mike Cernovich and Jack Posobiec, the goof, and Scott Pressler in his cowboy boots and ponytail. Do you remember that ridiculous demonstration? And all these people are out there outside the East Wing with their binders for the photo op. Oh, look, we're most transparent admin in history, by the way. And it's BS. The whole thing's fake. No files, no disclosure. Everybody quickly realizes this. They say, wait a second, upload what you gave them in the binders to the internet, which they then did. And then people comb through the files and they determine there's nothing new in them. So then people say, what's really going on here? You appoint a congresswoman to get to the bottom of it. You do this big disclosure. It's all fake. The FBI and the DOJ respond, the files are on our desk. Then in May, Trump tells the FBI, go through the files, look for my name, because he knows it's there. They tell him it's there. In July, this is the best part, Bibi Netanyahu visits the White House for the third time on 7/7/2025. I'm not making this up. Google the timeline. On July 7th, 7/7/25, add 2 + 5. I'm not a numerology guy, but it's a little weird. In his third visit on 7/7 to celebrate bombing Iran, Netanyahu visits the White House, and the day before he arrives, literally the day before, the DOJ announces there are no files, case closed, it's over. Trump, for 3 weeks, engages in damage control. He orders the Speaker of the House to close Congress so they don't get forced by Thomas Massie to compel the release of the files. And now here we are 4 months later after the longest shutdown in history, and we see there are files. Trump's name is all over them. He lied. And now 100 Republicans are going to defect and vote in favor of releasing the rest of the files next week. This is a crisis of Trump's own making. You have no one to blame but yourself. You can't blame your own base for asking you to do what you promised to do. You can't say that your base doesn't see the bigger picture or they're conspiracy theorists. If you played into that for years, which you did, the chickens have come home to roost now. They leaned into this stuff. They promised it. And you could say they bit off more than they can chew. Then you lied brazenly and openly. You tried to trick people. It didn't work. And now the chickens have come home to roost. And here's the issue. This goes to the center of what the Trump revolution is all about. And I've been saying this for weeks and months and years now. The whole idea behind Trumpism, fundamentally, it's an anti-corruption movement. Don't you know that?
This right here, this is the absolute heart of the matter. He's right. MAGA was never really about traditional conservatism. It was an anti-corruption movement. It was a hostile takeover. The entire premise, the fundamental promise of Trump in 2016 was, I'm a billionaire, I can't be bought, and I'm going to expose the whole rotten system. That's what Drain the Swamp meant. It was about turning on the lights and showing everyone the blackmail and the intelligence agency control that truly runs Washington. And Epstein is the final boss of that swamp. He is the ultimate symbol of that system of blackmail and intelligence agency control. So for Trump, of all people, to now be the one who is perceived as burying those files, it's not just a policy failure, it's a betrayal of the entire premise of his movement. It cuts the legs out from under the very idea of Trumpism.
At the bottom of it, MAGA, it's not really about being conservative. It's not super conservative. It's not about being libertarian. It's not about being Republican. The core of the MAGA message was about anti-corruption. It was an anti-corruption campaign because the first thing that Trump said is, I'm a self-funder. I'm a billionaire. I'm so rich that I cannot be bought. And what's the implication? The implication is Congress and the president is bought by the money. And they're compromised in all sorts of ways. They're compromised by money and the quid pro quo, those expectations. They're compromised in other ways by blackmail. They're controlled by the media. And so the fundamental premise of Trumpism is, I can't be bought, therefore I'm incorruptible. That was the point. If I put up $70 million to run my primary campaign and I'm a billionaire, maybe I could do that in the general. And if I have all small dollar donors, the people can literally overthrow the corrupt government. All the super PACs, all the billionaires, all the money will be against. But if we have one billionaire and a ton of small dollar donors, and maybe some like small business owner, millionaire types, then maybe we really could have a president that isn't beholden to anybody. So that's actually central to the MAGA message. This idea of draining the swamp, it's not like it's one among other things that's critical. And Epstein epitomizes this problem because what is the Epstein playbook? He's got a private island. Why? So that he controls who goes there and he can see everything and record everything that happens. That's the point. There's no jurisdiction. He's got a private island. He's got his townhouse in Manhattan rigged with cameras and microphones. Why? He's in bed with the Israeli government, the British government, the American government. His entire operation is to entice and induce powerful people to let their guard down so that he can compromise them with blackmail and then control them on behalf of some entity. Who even knows? Probably Israeli intelligence, but honestly, who knows? Maybe he's a mercenary. Maybe he worked with Israeli intelligence and British intelligence and or the CIA. Most likely Israeli intelligence. But that gets to the heart of why people don't trust the government. Because people have this idea that the reason America is losing, why are we powerful and rich, but the country's getting worse? It's because of the leadership. The leadership is steering us into the rocks because they're being manipulated. They're being controlled with money or blackmail or by shadowy forces.
Exactly. This is why people don't trust the government. The Epstein operation, I believe, was never just about one depraved man. It was a honeypot operation. It was an intelligence-gathering machine designed to compromise powerful people. You rig a private island, you rig a Manhattan townhouse with cameras, and you entice the world's elite to let their guard down. Who was he working for? I mean, Mossad is the obvious theory, but who knows? It could have been the CIA, MI6, maybe all of them. The point is, it created a massive web of blackmail that is still being used to control our leaders today. This is the shadowy force that people feel but can't always name. It's the reason our country makes decisions that are so obviously against our own interests. The Trump revolution was supposed to expose and destroy that machine. But now, it seems the machine may have captured the revolutionary.
And so the whole Trump revolution was saying, let's turn the lights on. Let's put the spotlight on this. Let's get back in control of the government. There's no reason we should be failing. Let's fire all the bad people. Let's expose all the criminals, throw the corrupt people in jail, and then we can make Americans' lives better. And people like Epstein would be first on that list, and all of his clients. If Bill Clinton was running with Epstein, we need to get to the bottom of that. In fucking public. Needs to be on the news. There needs to be a full court press. There needs to be the court of public opinion weighing in on whether Bill Clinton was in bed with Epstein. And the rest of them, when that sort of thing is going on, it needs to be exposed. So if Trump gets elected and he has a history with Epstein, I'm sure Trump is worried about that. So the Trump government picks him up and then he dies mysteriously. Trump comes back, Now they bury the files? And this is what I said from the start. This is so damning for MAGA because it severs the trust between the people and Trump. It says definitively, wow, you're really just like the rest of them, aren't you? You are a fucking criminal. You're a liar. You're a criminal. You engaged in a conspiracy and a cover-up at the highest level, and we just don't know. We can't give you the benefit of the doubt. Epstein is the worst of the worst. He was a sex trafficker. He did traffic underage girls. He was involved with multiple foreign governments. He got his billions under mysterious circumstances. He was involved with the mega group and Jewish billionaires. And you knew him, and you were friends with him, and he died under your watch, and now you're covering it up. So you can show us everything at this point. It will not eradicate the doubt that has been sown in the minds of the people, and you did it to yourself. And to me, that signals the end of MAGA. It's over. Trump can do a lot of things and not lose support from his followers. He can bomb Iran and make a justification for why that is in America's interest. I wouldn't say that's even possible, but the cult of personality is strong. And he can bury the jobs report, and he can fumble the trade negotiations. He can get away with a lot of policy-related things. There's a lot of room to say that it's hard to reform the system or that people should manage their expectations. But something like this, something so ugly and which so epitomizes the corruption of the system, which he swore to fight against, for him to be caught on the carpet like this, lying to everybody, how do you come back from that? And that's what's going to happen next week, is Ro Khanna and the Democrats and Thomas Massie and maybe 100 Republicans are going to vote to force the DOJ to release all the files, and who knows what we're going to find. These are some.
I think Nick brings up some really good points here. The way he lays it out is very compelling. Hopefully the files will be released at some point in the near future, and if they are and Trump is in them, then his reputation will be completely ruined. I think all powerful people are corrupt at the end of the day, but don't forget to like the video and let me know what you think in the comments.